Hey, it's DIY Gemini, and today we're making a tote bag. Alright, so today we're making a zipper tote bag in honor of AAPI Month, or Asian American Pacific Islander Month. Today is the last day of it, in May 31st. So I wanted to throw back an ode to my big part of my childhood, and it is based around this guy. So this is called white flower oil. There's also different variations of this as well. It's usually a mix of camphor, menthol, and salicylic acid. There's a variety of different brands, just like Eagle brand is what I grew up with as well, and Kwanlung oil, which I also keep by my bedside right here. I remember just growing up, if I had a headache or if I was congested or if I had a stomach ache, I would use it on there. It's typically like a topical analgesic. And general, like all purpose, like decongestion or something. I know that these were used in a lot of different households, and just growing up with it, you can find it pretty much in any Asian household. So this is part one, where we're going to use the Cricut to apply our infusible ink into the fabric, and also add some embroidered flowers for a little some extra. And part two will be the sewing tutorial for actually putting the tote bag together. So yeah, let's get started with the first part.
All right, here's my design. I kind of made it like the farmer's market type design on this tote bag, and I included the year that the white flower oil was developed in 1927. And since this oil was always used for everything growing up, I thought it'd be fun to say it was the Asian cure-all, including for heartaches. I'm going to select all and click attach. Clicking attach, make sure that the different elements stays in place when we're going to cut our design. Let's get ready to cut. This is very, very important that you have the mirror turned on so that when we transfer the design to this fabric, the design will be facing the right way. Otherwise, you're going to have a backward design. Then we're going to select Infusible Ink. I also found that the Cricut has a harder time cutting through all of the paper on the Infusible Ink sheet, so I usually put a higher pressure up to like 320 or so, and that will do a lot better cutting just the paper part, because otherwise it just tears and it gets for a very frustrating time.
So we have our infusible ink. This is in the color Grayish. It comes with 2 sheets of paper, 12 by 12. It also comes with butcher paper, 2 pieces of butcher paper, and a lint collector thingamabob. So if you've never used infusible ink before, the color is going to look really different on the paper versus what's on the actual fabric that you'll have. You can see it on the back too. It says before it's a lot lighter, and then after you put it on, it's going to be a lot more vibrant and darker. So do not worry when your color comes out of the tube and it's just like, whoa, this is not the color I wanted. So you want to do our mat, and we're going to have the colored side up, and then the sticky back on the back. All right, as that's cutting, let's cut our fabric. I got this canvas fabric from, I think, when I was making like pillowcases or something, and I'm getting into like learning to embroider and stuff. So I still have a good amount of that. I think ideally I would have liked the more canvas beige color, but this is what I have, so that's what I'm going to work with.
I want the ultimate dimensions to be 19 inches wide by 15 inches tall. So to add for seam allowance for 1/2 inch, we're going to cut our rectangles to 20 inches by 16. So with infusible ink, you're actually going to be rolling it around in your hands, and you might hear some cracking, which is perfectly normal. This is not going to be like your vinyl weeding. So want to be careful with using any metal tools, because you might scratch the paper and that will transfer onto your fabric as well. So try to use your hands as much as possible. If you need tweezers, you can use that as well, but just be careful. Before applying our design, we have to prep our fabric by heating the fabric and taking the lint roller to the fabric. I marked the middle of the fabric and the design with a pencil and lined up where I wanted the design to go. Now I don't have a heat press, so we're just going to use an iron at its highest setting without steam. Instead of ironing like you normally do, we're just going to leave it in place and press for 10 seconds or so, and then move on to the next spot. Less movement allows for less ink transfer in the spots where you don't want it. After it completely cools, then you can remove the transfer paper on top to reveal your design.
There are some imperfections there. You can see it's a little washed, but honestly, I don't mind it because it looks vintage, even though we obviously know this is not. I wish I got a little bit more ink on this side, but I think I kind of just, I think I moved it and it kind of bubbled up a little bit, so no worries. To fix some of our stuff, we're just gonna, the plan was anyway to spice it up, to actually embroider some of the bag. So we're gonna do white on here for the flower to pop. I might do some greens as well, and then put more flowers actually on the sides. So like just repeating this flower over on this way. Draw that out. Some pencil, very light outline of the flower. I actually am not a professional embroiderer. A lot of these techniques are really beginner. I think like during the pandemic, I think it's like around 2020, I was like, you know, I have more time, so I want to learn more techniques. So I picked I picked up some embroidering then, pick up something for a little bit, and then I let it go. I don't know if that's the Gemini in me, but here we are. This is why this channel probably exists, and this is why all my videos are so different from each other. But you know what? I like doing a lot of stuff, and so yeah, so it's very similar to hand sewing to me. Embroiderers don't come for me, okay? So yeah, let's start off with this big flower first then. So we do one smaller hoop underneath, and then the bigger one above it. First, I want to do the petals, and we're going to use the white for that. These come in 6 strands. I'm just going to do 3 at a time. So you hook your thread onto there, so you see the needle in there. And then you pull this out, and now it's threaded. Just makes it easier. So we'll leave that hanging, and the other side we'll make a knot. So how I make a knot, you could literally just tie it like you would, but normally how my mom taught me to knot it is to wrap it around my finger, like just once like that, and literally just push it off your finger. And then you see this little ring there that's formed because of your finger. Then you just pull backward like that, and you have a little knot. You could trim the excess of this if you want to. And start with a satin stitch from the bottom. So here's the middle of my flower, and then we have our petals here. I'm going to start from the middle, bring it all the way up, go to the edge, all the way down. Ideally, I would have wanted that canvas khaki color, but this is what I already had, and I didn't feel like buying more, so I might as well use the scraps, because I don't know about you guys, but I've been collecting all the scraps, all the fabrics, because just in case I need this in the future. So yeah, I have a whole like tote of fabric scraps and like new fabrics that I actually bought with the intention of making something, and then they just sit there. So yeah, I need to use what I have. Are you guys a fabric hoarder? I'm the same with like scrap wood too, and I know there are people out there for that too. We just save so much scrap wood. You're like, ooh, I don't need it, but maybe what if I do? Oh, it's bad. So yeah, so basically satin stitch is really, really, really easy. You go to the middle of the flower, and then you go to the outside edge of the petal, Me doing this embroidery is just to add a little bit more texture. Because you know you gotta love some texture. Yeah, put something relaxing on or whatever you want to watch in the background, or listen to a podcast, or listen to a good audiobook or something, or some music. Because you're gonna be here for a while. But you know what? It's kind of relaxing. And I'm doing this now because if I sew the tote before I do this, you can. Like if you decided to do this later when your tote's already made, that's fine. This just makes it easier because there's less bulk for me to maneuver as I'm embroidering. So yeah, you'll be doing this for a while. I'll see y'all back when we get to the middle, and I'll show y'all what to do for that. Okay, so we have some of my flowers done here, but we're also going to be doing these. I'm going to do these in white. Of course, this is green, and then we have some green stems as well here. And then we have a couple more flowers to go, and we're almost done. There's a couple of ways to close this, but honestly, the easiest way is just to make a couple knots on the back. Just make sure it's tight and it's against the back here. We'll do a couple knots, just simple knots, nothing crazy. And all the way down. Snip close to it, but be careful not to snip off the knot you just made. The greens are done. I want to do the blue on the cap, and then also have to do the little middle yellow parts. So let's show you how to do that. To make the French knot, which is this guy right here, I'm going to do like smaller ones in the middle of the flowers here. So from the back side, we'll put our needle right through. All the way up. So we're going to wrap it twice, like that. And then, while still holding this with your opposite hand, you're going to poke it near the hole that you first made, or you can go into the same hole that you made to come up. So hold this, and then pull the needle down, and then you're just going to pull that carefully towards the end as you let go, and you create a little tiny knot. Cute! Again, we come from the bottom. Sometimes it takes a couple tries to figure out what your needle is going to poke through. But come up all the way. We're going to wrap the thread around our needle twice. It doesn't really matter what direction you go in, just as long as it's the same direction. So then we poke it back in near the originating hole, or you can put it in the first initial hole that you came up on. You hold it with your opposite hand for a while, then you let go, and you just pull it, and then that creates a little knot. Okay, here is what we have so far. They're so cute. So, you know how I added some blue here? I also added a little bit of blue in the middle here, just to have that little contrast of the gold and the white, and just, you know, just tie in the blue, the iconic blue of the white flower oil. Okay, so that was part 1 of making the tote bag and designing the tote bag. So don't forget to watch part 2 for sewing it all together. I'm also going to have some extra shots and pictures of the final product on my socials at HiDIYGemini. So please don't forget to follow me on there, and I will see you in the next one for part 2. Thanks for watching.